Hey guys, welcome back to episode 5. It's been 4 weeks because I've been moving studios, as a lot of you know. So yeah, finally in here. 95% complete. Still got a lot of panels around me and still need to go up on walls and on ceilings and things, but we are there, and now I can get back on with doing these tutorials. The feedback on these has been fantastic. Just really quickly, people have been really enjoying them over the last few weeks, over the last month and a half, as I've been uploading them. Lots of feedback, lots of messages. Try to respond to many of the messages on YouTube as I can, and where, you know, if anyone's ever got any questions, they can always just message me on the my YouTube channel, and I can respond from there. And thank you very much, and I really appreciate people sharing these videos, hitting the as the YouTubers say, hitting that subscribe button and that like button. It's brilliant, thank you. So what we're going to do in this one, in episode 5, is we are going to move on from our 8 bar loop. It's actually a 16 bar loop here at the moment, but it was 8 bar loop. Now, how I go about this, there's a few things I want to do on this one. We're going to start doing the laying down the arrangement. We got to where it was. Let's just have a quick recap on this. Turn that one off for a minute. So now you'd have obviously just watched episode 4, so now we're moving on to episode 5. Now what we've done is, when I get to that point, when I've got to the point of I've got 8 bar or a 16 bar loop and I'm really comfortable with it, I'm now ready to start laying down that track, because you could go over and over and over again in an 8 bar loop or in a 16 bar loop, changing and changing and changing. You can start to add fills and rolls and sweeps up and sweeps down, and listening to it over and over and over again until you're bored in the face. But what it's a good point when you've got a general groove going. You've got your kick and your bass line and your percussion, and you've got some mid-range sounds, and you've got a few stabs going on, and you just generally got that groove going on. Now is the time, right, to start layering it down. Well, for me, start layering it down. Now, I don't start right at the beginning, right at bar 1, at the first beat on the arrangement of Ableton or any DAW. For all the way for the last 20 years of making music, I've always allowed that space at the start. It's just me. I don't know if it's an OCD thing, but I always allow a little bit of space. So a little bit of space here at the start, just so I can just chuck things over to the left. I don't like it being right at the start of the arrangement. I like to have that little bit of space to the left and to the right of my arrangement, and it's sitting there. So I don't know what I don't know what it is. It's just one of these things that I've been imprinted in my brain ever since making music with Acid Pro, not acid as in acid, but Acid Pro, on my PC back in 1998 was when I first started to tinker around properly with, in a serious way, with hard house music. I've always had that little bit of space at the start. So once I've got my 8 bar loop and I want to start working on it, I will drag this along, and I will start on bar 33 for me. That is just where I put it on there. So I've got a space of 32 bars at the start of my track, and I'll start arranging it from there. Now, for me, this is the point where I recommend to you guys that you put a reference track in. Now, reference tracks, this is something that we're going to touch on a little bit on here. Now, I might even separate this element of the tutorials of the whole of the episode into 2 parts on the arrangement and the reference tracks. So a good time to do this is now. Get a track into your arrangement. Now, a track that you really like, a hard house track that you really like, and with a reference track, you can really start to, because you're a beginner and you don't really know the full ins and outs of the arrangement of the structures of the tracks. But if you're a DJ, chances are you do, because when you're a DJ, you know how the tracks are structured, certainly at the start and the end. Now, the most common thing nowadays is 32 bars from the point where the track starts up until where the bass line first comes in and is introduced to the track. From that point, you then have a little bit of free reign on what you want to do up until the break. It all depends on the groove of the track, and you'll start to get a vibe of the whole of the track once you start to layer down from this point, when you've got that decent solid 8 or 16 bar loop going in your track. Don't dwell too much on that 8 bar loop. You want to start layering it down, because once you start layering it down, all of your creativity starts to open up. Well, it does for me, and I'd like to think it will for you. It will start to open up in your track, and then you'll start to get a real feel for it, and you can start to mold that track from the point where the bass line is introduced all the way up until the break. Start to take people on a journey, which is exactly what you want to do with a track. You want to take them on a journey, and that's what we're going to do now. So to put in, you want to find a track that you love, a hard house track that you love. I mean, and there's shitloads. So I am going to put in a little bit biased here. I'm going to put in one of my own tracks because it helps with my tutorials, and obviously I'm developing the structure that I know, that's me, Moby D, and that's going to help you guys with with these tutorials that we're doing. So what you do is you want to load on an audio channel. I put it right up to the top of my arrangement, and I will colour them in. You can colour them in whatever you want. I always make my reference tracks black, because all my other stuff is a nice colour. Black is black, and that. Then what I'll do is I will drag in my track. So what I'm going to do on this one, I'm going to drag in a track that I did a year or so ago called Judder, and I'm going to put that in. I'm going to start it at the bar 33, like I said. So there's the whole track now in my arrangement. And this is the rest of the track. That's what I said to you before. I'm working off the basis of Power Junkie, which is the best way in which I can explain how to write hard house for you guys. So now that I've got that track into the arrangement, I'm going to get my 8 bar loop here, which has got the mid-range sounds, everything I've got, everything I showed you in the last episode. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to control left click control. I'm going to drag it over here, and then drag it over here. So that again. Do that again, and then I'm going to control D, control D, control D, and I'm going to fill up the first 32 bars right up to the point where my 8 bar loop is. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get rid of these first ones. There's my first 32 bars. Give me those ones as well. Okay, let's get that gone. Make sure we're all nice and tidy. Now, I'm actually going to put in another 8 bars, actually, right to the point where it drops. Apologies. So that is the point. So at that bar there, that's 32 bars. So you can see I've got 8, 16, 24, 32, and then we've got the drop. So what we're going to do is we're now going to take out. Now there was many different ways of doing this. Different people do it in different ways. Sometimes I'll just drag the kick over, then I'll drag the percussion over, then I'll drag the other bits over. I'm just going to try and give you a quick free running way of doing it. Now you know that in the first 32 bars of the track there's not going to be any bass lines, so let's take those bass lines out. Gone. We know the bass lines are going to drop on bar 32. Okay, and then we can start to mold this. Now we're not going to have all of these mid-range sounds either. We're not going to have all of these mid-range sounds here, and those ones, but I'm going to have some of them, because what you'll find in a track, and let's just have a quick listen to the reference track. Now the reference track at the top here, Judder, let's just listen to how it develops. We've got a kick, we've got some percussion in there, we've got some of those mid-range sounds, those little sequences starting to build up. Oh, we've got another bit of a sequence coming in now. Nice bubbly mid-range sounds, like I said, showed you in episode 4. It's starting to build, coming up to now, up to the 16th bar, onto the 70th bar. Now we've got the open hats in there. Nice, it's building up nicely, This is what you're using the reference track for. You're seeing how that reference track, drum roll, kicks are being taken away, bass, look, into the bass. Right, so this is what we're doing and we're using a reference track for. The referencing tracks that you love in hard house and creating a similar structure is a fantastic way to learn. Can't stress enough. I've shown this to so many people, and I've shown them when I first told them about it. I said, well, reference tracks, what's a reference track, you know, and then showing them how to do how to reference off a reference track as well, not just chucking the track in and then copying it. No, it's referencing the different parts of it, referencing the transitions, referencing the percussion, when the percussion comes in, when it's taken away again, you know, when the bass line comes in, when additional bass lines like mid basses come in, all those different things, when the sweeps come in, when the crashes come in, when the mini breaks come in, breakdowns come in, when the breakdown itself comes in. So what we're going to do over this is we're going to look at those different references in this episode, and we're gonna bring our track now, our 8-bar loop, and we're going to bring it to the point of the drop and let it roll for another 30, 64 bars, and that's what we'll do in this particular episode. So what you can hear there is the track is starting off with just a kick and a bit of percussion going, and a little bit one of those mid-range sounds is going on in there. So we've got a few mid-range sounds that we put in the last one, which I was showing you, those sequences and chopped up sounds that I put together, and I'll show you how to put them together and where to get those sounds from. You know, Hive, Spire, Serum. You've got to be prepared if you want to write hard house. As I stressed to you in the last episode, you've got to be prepared to spend a bit of money on getting these synths. You know, you can use the stock plugins. Some of these other tutorials out there say use the stock plugins, but you're spending money on those bloody things. Lots of money on those tutorials. This one's free. That money that you saved on this tutorial, go and buy some synths. Go and buy some plug-in synths. So we've got some really nice mid-range sounds on here. You can hear being played here. So we're going to get to them in a minute. So at the moment, we're going to turn those off and keep them off. What we're going to do, first of all, is we're going to get the kick. We're going to get those percussion. Now, we don't want, if you hear the reference track doesn't start with the clap. No. I always find, don't start with the clap. You want to start with a little bit of interest. Don't just start with the kick. Just starting with a kick, and sorry, by the way, sorry about the noise in the background. That's my my little air conditioning unit going because it's freaking hot in here. Don't just start with a kick. If someone sends a demo over to me on Positive State and it just starts with a kick and it goes on for like 8 bars with just a kick and then something else comes in, I'm pretty bored, and I'm like, really? You know, most stuff, when you listen to them and you reference those tracks, the tracks that you've got in your USBs, probably if you're a DJ, they start with a little bit of a groove already going. But don't give them everything all at once. Just start, and that's what we're going to do. We're not going to give them everything all at once. We're going to slowly, every 8 bars, we're going to start to introduce all of these all this percussion that we have built up in our 8-bar loop. I hope that makes sense. So I'm not going to put the clap in. I don't think I'm going to put the clap in maybe for maybe 8 bars, 16 bars, but I'll check. Well, let's have a look. Are we going to put this one in? Yeah, we're probably going to start with the closed hats. Yeah, we're going to probably start with that. We could probably, let's have a see about starting with that. Sorry, excuse me, that shouldn't be in there. Okay. That's a nice little groove we got there. And it's the open hat. Now, I don't want to introduce the open hat. A lot of the time, I won't introduce that open hat probably until about bar 16 of your first intro to 32 bars. So let's just start first of all. And by the way, I'm going to turn off these. I'm going to mute these mid-range sounds for the minute. Now, how to mute sounds is you can highlight them, press 0 on your keyboard, and that will highlight them or colour them out. So it colours them out. It means they're there, but it's just muted them. Okay, it's a really nice, quick, easy way. You just highlight them again, press 0, back on again, mute on, mute on. Okay. So we're muting them for the minute, so they won't come through when we play the fast part of the track. And by the way, make sure that you've got your reference track over here Excuse me, I'll just move myself. Over here, you've got your reference track off. So when you want to listen to your reference track, just press solo at the top there, and then listen to it. Turn it off, back to your track. Back to the solo track. Clicks. Okay. It's a lot of time. I think, even in the past, from past experience, I'm going, this sounds a bit noisy, and I've got my reference track playing in the background. Classic schoolboy errors. So yeah, let's not do that. So make sure you've got your reference tracks turned off. And if you want to listen to your reference track, just go over and solo it and listen to it, and then go back to your track again. So on here, we are going to, let's just make sure that I'm not going too over on the time. Yeah, we are all good at the moment on time. Yeah, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the kick. So here we go. Now that particular sound there, we're not going to put that in yet. That didn't sound right yet. That's going to come in later on. So we're going to start with a kick, closed hats, and a bit of that percussion there. Yeah, good way to start the track. Let's have a look at our reference. Nice, that'll do. And then what we want to do is, once that happens, when we want to, let's listen to the reference track again. Sorry, the reference track, bar 8. Still no clap. Just got a lot of mid-range sounds coming in to create that groove. And then at bar 17, as bar 17 hits, we're going into, for the end of 16 into 17, we're hearing the open hat and we're hearing the clap. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to copy our reference track. So the clap doesn't come in there. The open hat is here. And the let's move the open hat up here. Let's move it up. And the clap is there as well. So those ones first. Then it's going to go into that. Let's just check. Actually, before we do that, let's just see what this sound is again. Okay, right. So we've got that sound in there as well. I'm not going to put that on yet. Let's just play that without that sound. Okay, so it's going in there from the kick and the clap. We're going to wind it forward so we don't sit here listening to a 16-bar loop over and over again. That will drive you insane in a tutorial. Right, up to the 16th bar then. And all those started to kick in. So what we're going to do is we're going to mute more of them for the minute. Now, that's on the 16th bar. Okay. Now we've got the clap and the open hat coming in. That's working. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our mid-range sounds. Now this is something that I do in my music. I find I want a little bit more interest in this intro of the track. It's the bit that no one really hears. Yes, it's the bit that the DJ is mixing. But overall, from a listening point of view, when you send your demo out, that person listening is going to be wanting to hear interest from the get-go. Not just from the point of the 30 to 32 bars, the end of the 32 bars into the 33rd Bosch bass line. Nothing else before that is all boring. No, you want to create a beautiful track here. A track that wants to be listened to by everybody. That is the end result of anything to do with music production. I'm going on a bit. Right, so we've got a few different sounds here. So I'm going to put all these ones back on again before we go any further with the build up. Now we've got these mid-range sounds like. Yeah, so let's start with this first one. And let's see what that sounds like in the track from the start. Okay, this was all in the R8 bar loop. So already, it's like, whoa, okay, this is interesting. Got a bit of cheekiness about it already. Now, at the 8th bar, that's where I like to introduce something else in there. Now let's go back to the reference track again. Go back to that reference track. What did that do? What did that do in the 8th bar? So here we are on the 9th bar. Here we are at the end of the 8th bar. Oh, okay. Well, that's giving us another little bit of mid-range. So let's go down to these mid-range sounds. Okay, so what we got here? We got this one. And then what was this one doing? This one was doing... that one was turned off. What was this one doing? Okay, that one's doing... No, that's too much too soon. So let's go for this one, right? We're going to go for this one here, which was this sound. Okay, so from the start. Wind it forward to the end of the 8th bar. Yeah, okay. Introducing something else here. We're starting to build the track. Now, it's going to come up to the end of the 16th bar. We're going to the 17th bar. Open hat and clap. And it also, we've introduced 2 other things in here. Now, I think that was a bit too much too soon. Okay, so with the open hat, the clap, and this sound, are we giving them too much too soon? That's what you've got to ask yourself. Don't ever give them too much too soon. So, and it always, if you've got something happening every 8 bars, it's generating it. You're consistently giving them ear candy. You're consistently giving them interest. You're consistently keeping the listener interested in the track. So we will move on to, we'll take that one out. And what we're going to do is we're going to go on from the start. So we're going to go from the start. I'm not going to keep playing this over and over from the start because it's going to start driving you crazy. So I'll keep winding it forward. So it's the start, up to the 8th bar, 9th bar. Introduces that sound. Now to the end of this, open hat and clap. Okay. Got those little stabby sounds that I had, those single stabs in there. Can you see it starting to evolve? The track is evolving all the way up, and now we're building it up and building it up and building it up and building it up. Okay, and then we're into the bass line. So, right. I know this is raw. It's going to be completely raw at this stage. Don't worry. We've got lots and lots of time to start working on carving out those last parts of the sounds. In those last 8 bars, that is the point where you start to pull sounds back out again a little bit. You start to get drum rolls in. You start to get sweeps in. You start to get drum. You'll get a drum fill in right at the end, or a vocal saying something really fucking awesome. Whatever it may be. Come again or whatever. You know what I mean by that. But that's and I'll show you that those last 8 bars before at the end of the 32 bars. Just listen to how it develops and listen to the sounds. We've got a fill. We've got a drum roll coming up. We've got a sweep. We've got scoops up. We've got riser. And then bosh. And that's what we're going to do with this. So I'm going to show you, now again, you've got to go and find those banks of risers. You've got to go and find those banks of sweeps. You've got to go and find those banks of sweeps up, sweeps down, effects and things like that. You've got to start generating and building up those things. Now I'm hoping that you've already got those because you're a beginner. You know your DAW to a point and you want to learn hard house. So how I did it in this particular track of Power Junkie, I will go over here now. I'm going to show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull some of these in. So once I've got that 32 bar loop. Now bear in mind, sometimes it can be quite difficult to explain this to complete beginners. When you're not a beginner anymore, sometimes it becomes quite hard to explain. So I hope I'm coming across okay for you guys. Once I've got that bass line in, I'll probably copy that over one more time. Excuse me. I've got really terrible hay fever at the moment. You didn't really want to know that, did you? Dear. Okay, so what I would do here is I'd have the first 16 bars of the bass line in. For me, I want to start moulding that first part. Like some people will just carry on with the track and they'll go, oh, I'll worry about that bit later. Sometimes I have done that. I've gone, oh, I'll worry about the drop into the bass line later. I just want to start building the track and making it groove. You know, there's many different ways in which to do it. You're going to find your own way eventually. Once you've tried different methods of arranging your track, you will find your own way. But referencing that track and referencing as you go is a good time to do this. Now, and bearing in mind, obviously, that we haven't truly started to mix all the sounds together, level them properly, you know, get them to where we want to. All we're doing at the moment now is just starting to structure a hard house track. You know, I'm going to get a drum. I'm going to get a drum roll in here. Is what I'm going to do. So it's building up there. I'm going to get a drum roll in now. Here's one I made earlier. So it's going to be damn sight quicker to show you in a tutorial about here's one I made earlier. Now there's loads of different ways in which you can do drum loops. You can do it the old-fashioned way. I'm going to show you the old-fashioned way because it's the way I like. You know, if you want to find out different ways of doing it, there are different tutorials out there for doing drum rolls. This particular one is where I've got a snare on its own. Okay, and then you build it like any snare. Then I'd fix the grid down to halves. So one beat to a bar, then 8s, then 16s, then 32s. Bosh. Alright. Don't know what I got right. 32s. But yeah, that's one way of putting drum roll in. That's the way I like to do it. You know, it's nice and simple. There's so many different ways to do it. You can put a kick doing the same thing. Do on the bit on one kick, 4 beats to a bar. One kick, and then go into 8s, 16s, 32s. It's the classic way. It's what everybody's known. It's still in every track, even to this day. People have been doing drum rolls for donkey's years now. But that is one way of doing it. And then what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you filtering it in a bit and how to filter it up. Or I'll show you how to filter in the next episode is what I'll do. For now, all I want to show you is about the referencing it and dragging out this first part. So drum roll. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to scoop stuff out. Actually, no, I am going to show you in this one. So with with this, what you can do, once you've got your drum roll in, we're going to click this button. I'm going to move myself out of the way. We're going to click this button here. Can you see that button there? Now, what that does is that changes you to the automation page, a view. Okay, where you'll start to see these red lines everywhere. Now these red lines are the automation lines. They're the lines that you use to draw in. Let me pull myself back over again. I threw myself off the page. Where you will draw in scoops, sweeps. So if you want to filter something, I'll give you an example here. We're just going to keep that snare. Let's just loop that. Leave myself down here for a minute. I'll put myself down here. Okay, so it's all very static. Now we do that again. We've got the automation lines showing. So what I've done here is I've put in, if you go to audio effects and then go to filters and go to auto filters, drag an auto filter into the bottom of the arrangement, which will bring up your nice little auto filter here. And what we want to do here with this is we're going to make this, we're going to do this effect. So see how I'm scooping the filter frequency down all the way down. Bosh. Right, so that's doing it by hand. And now what we're going to do is we're going to draw the line, automation line in, so it controls this filter frequency right down here on the bottom. Now, to do that, we are going to go back. Yes, go back to that arrangement view. We're going to click on here, and you can see this is the line. Now, as I move this up and down, it should move up and down with it, but it's not. A little bit of a glitch with something I found with Ableton. That sometimes it turns the automations on and off, and it shouldn't do. I don't know why it does that sometimes, which is a bit weird. So yeah, now as I move this up and down, can you see that's moving this up and down as we speak. So what we're doing is we're drawing in the automation. So we're drawing in the control and telling Ableton when to scoop it up. Is basically the best way of describing that, which is probably the right way to describe it. And what we want to do is we want it to do exactly the same as what I did with when I turned the knob manually. I'm going to go the other way around. Apologies. Okay, so you can see it's scooping down. So that's what we want that to do. We want it to scoop down and create that nice scooping effect. So you don't want to hear a drop as the track's playing and you've got the percussion playing and you get the kick playing. Then suddenly, gung, 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 starts to come in. You want to give it that little bit of you want to carve it and mold it into the track. So it comes in and it's nice and smooth and gradual into the track, and this is a good way of doing it. There are other ways of doing it. You can control it with volumes and with a limiter like I had on before, which you saw in a little bit earlier on. So I've taken that off just to not confuse. And let's just see what that sounds like. So as we got that going in. So I'm automating the volume particularly on this, which don't do that. Don't automate the volumes, please don't do that. It's not a good thing to do. I'm just showing that because I was doing a lot of different experiments in this track, but yeah, and I never saved it. So this is an old arrangement, but try and avoid automating volume. But so don't follow me on that one. So just focus on having the volume correct from the first place over on your right hand side, and then using the automation on filters, and if you want to boost the sound, and use it on a limiter on the actual channel. Try and avoid automating volumes if you can. It just adds to a little bit of a bit problematic further down the line when you get into your mix downs and your mastering stage. So we've got that filtering out. Now what I like to do, let's go back to the reference track. You can hear the drum rolls coming in. You can hear that all of the percussion starts to scoop out. You can hear that the kick starts to scoop out a bit as well. And how I did that is with using these auto filters as well. It's a quick, easy way of doing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do exactly the same thing. So you remember before when we were doing the 8-bar loop that we grouped our percussion. A little bit of housekeeping again. Perk. I don't think I saved it from the last episode because I do refresh these tutorials pages to show you in different ways. So percussive bus. So I would like to do that on my percussive bus. Now you can see I've already got an auto filter on there. We're going to take that one off. We're going to put a new one on again. So I've got my percussive bus here. We've got it on the same those last 8 bars up to the point where the bass line drops, and I've muted it out, so all I can hear is my percussion. We're going to go over on the left hand side. We're going to go to auto filter. We're going to drag it in. We're going to go to the auto filter knob again. We're going to push it right up to the top. We're going to click on it there, right from the point at the start. Now, and then we're going to scoop it. Do you know what? There's 2 different ways you do this. You can either scoop it down and do a high pass or a low pass. So we're going to do it. We're doing a high pass at the moment. This is a high pass coming. This is a low pass. Sorry, coming down. So let's just listen and see what that sounds like. Basically, it's like turning down the volume. Some people like to do it that way, and some people like to do the percussion a slightly different way. Come down here, bottom. You got your high pass. You got your low pass. Yeah, so on this one we've got we're going to do a high pass filter, so we're going to put it right down, see the line, right down to the bottom, put a marker on the bottom there, and then we're going to drag it and make it go all the way up to the top. So you hear it scooping up. So let's do that. We're going to do that on this one, and then we're going to do the same thing with the kick. So we've got the bass line coming in. We're going to scoop out the percussion. Now, another quick trick, actually, before I go on to the kick, is if you want to curve this line, if you hold down hold down Alt, and then pull. Look, you can then curve that line, curve it up, curve it whichever way. So you can create that nice smooth scooping curve rather than just it's nice smooth scooping curve. So that's Alt button, then it changes. See the way it changes your cursor, and then that adjusts it slightly, so you get a nice little scoop. So we're going to do that little scoop on this. We're actually going to do that little scoop on this as well, up here on the on the snares. So let's do it now on the kick. So we've got the kick. Now I think I've already got one in here. So let's just click there, click there. We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to scoop that kick away. So I'm actually going to do it while it's playing. And we're putting it up and giving it a low pass filter. Let's see what that sounds like. So now we've done that. We've got the drum rolls coming in. We're scooping out the kick. We're scooping out the percussion. Turn the loop off. Okay, now one important thing to show you is that make sure that when you've scooped out your percussion, you pull it back down again and you bring it back in. Otherwise you'll be going, where's my percussion gone? Where's my percussion gone? So yeah, make sure you bring it back in. So it's like this. Now I think that's scooping out too much. So let's just mould it a little bit. That'll do for now. And let's just now go down to those mid-range sounds that we've got here. And let's just scoop those out as well. So we've got those on here. I'm actually going to group all of these together into and then call them mid-range. So let's I'm highlighting all, grouping the tracks, and let's call that, just for now, we're just going to call it mid sounds. And I'm doing it just so I can scoop all of them out at the same time. Okay, so we are going to go down with these ones. So we're going to do a low pass filter, a high pass filter, or a low pass filter. Okay, so as it's coming along, so scoop down. I did get the morning, didn't I? Yeah. And then making sure it goes back up again to where it was. Sorry, excuse me, I should have put this onto the top one. Mid, which I've now done. It should be on the mid sounds. I put it onto the acid line, so here we go. Now it's scooping away. There you go, there's the filter line coming in. Scooping away nice and quietly. And then bosh! Now, when you go into... Now, there's more things we can do here now. We can start to add drum loops. We can start to, like drum fills. And we can start to now add risers and scoops up. So that's what I'm going to show you next. On the next episode, because we've gone on quite long, I'm going to start showing you how to put in those next parts of the arrangements, because this will go on for quite a long time. I can see this going on for at least like four episodes of half an hour to 45 minutes, maybe even to an hour each. I really want to hone in on these so that you can forward, rewind to the bits that you want, and don't have to listen to me gabbling on too much and rabbiting on and digressing too much like I do. Maybe a little bit of element of ADHD in me. So on the next episode, I'm going to show you putting in those sweeps and those risers. So let's just really mould that drop into the first initial baseline drop. So thanks, guys. Find those reference tracks, work on that, start to create and mould your first part of your track from that 8-bar loop that you got together off after episode 4. I'm now back on these. I'm going to be doing these again now. I might even push to doing 2 a week and really start to get them going and get them up there for you quicker than I have been. Thank you for your patience in between episode 4 and 5. All the best. Peace out. Thank you.